So over the year, I've seen people do Tai Chi. The quality of the movement is not quite like the traditional way we are opposed to how to do Tai Chi properly. This is why there are many comments that people make, not just in the US, but mainly in China as well, that they all say the same thing, that in the 1955, the routine that you teach from Rose, the one you learned perhaps, at that time we called simplified Tai Chi Chuan. Now, the past decade or so, they changed the name, said 24 technique Yang Tai Chi. But traditionally they call it differently. So when they first began, Tai Chi because it's for martial arts, a very small group of people doing it. So the quality is there. But then they recognize the value of doing Tai Chi at health. So that's why they expand the audience, so more and more people doing it. So the demand is there, but the supply, the one who provides the instruction, are very limited. And also, because the audience is different, so student quality all varies. So they said the traditional routine is like too complex and too difficult to remember. And so that's why it came up in 1955. And they said, we have to do something so that benefits the mass. So that's why the routine simplified Tai Chi began. And so what happened in a very short time, they trained many people to teach. And then these students become a teacher and they go back to their hometown, home city, and teach others. And that's how they began to spread out the simplified Tai Chi Chuan. And today, and that is supposed to be the most popular one among the 6 major styles of Tai Chi Chuan. Okay, so and that's what happened because basically student teaching a student. So after you spend a very short time training and then go on and teach others. So in the instruction is more emphasized on doing the movement. But in Tai Chi, physical movement is secondary. It's something behind the movement that counts. So this is in a way, it's almost like the people who do yoga in this country too, because in the past 14 years, I've been traveling to Bahamas in the Sivananda Yoga Ashram and saw the people that teaching and practice yoga. It's very different from most of the people teach in the local gym or local yoga studio. They, more than the physical movement they do a lot of chanting, they have meditation, they go through the various ceremony. It's almost like religious, part of religious practice. So Tai Chi is almost the same way today. And many people treat it like at a sport activity. So that's how when you do the physical movement without the internal aspect, that's not really Tai Chi Chuan movement. So that's what we said that simply because you do the movement like called like brush knee, that considered a Tai Chi Chuan. You have the energy behind the movement that make it, we call the brush knee. And that's what happened, and that's why last time I was here, I spoke with Rose. I said perhaps that rather than teaching the routine, she would say, you should probably do some pushing hands. But I said probably beginning to have some more realistic understanding what is Tai Chi Chuan first, before go ahead and do other more higher level or program involved with Tai Chi Chuan. And that's why we have this class today. That's why I have everyone here. Okay? So what I like to do for this class is probably, many of you was wondering as well, is that I would like to first share some of my experience with every one of you of my about 40 years, something years of doing this. And how then next, perhaps is some exercise how to improve the quality of the Tai Chi Chuan that you make. And to me, that is more important thing than anything else. I mean, like I said, the movement is secondary. Today, there are so many different ways to do things, include Tai Chi Chuan. So even Lee both mentioned that everyone you do that 24 technique Yang style Tai Chi. But what is the Yang style Tai Chi, right? And how it's different from other style? You don't know, do you? But first of all, that is the family name attached to the thing that you do. It only happens probably in the past 3 decades. Before that, we all just simply called Tai Chi Chuan. So you can ask Bro, if you can find any book published in Chinese textbooks that published before 1940, 1950, they all simply called Tai Chi Chuan. Then in the late 60s and 70s, then called, because under Communist rule, there's no, they simply called using the number of techniques attached to it. Like that's why they called 24 techniques, 48, 66, 88. Then it's in the 80s, then they began to use the name family Yang style Tai Chi Chuan, Chen style Tai Chi Chuan, or Wu style. Okay? So although they have family last name attached to the movement they make, but they all still follow the same principle. So what they do. So therefore, it doesn't really matter that much that you do this style or this style or that style. Because basically, it's only variation in terms of the execution of the movement that you make. So for example, I mentioned about brush knee and twist step. So this is different in terms of just execute the movement, slightly different. So actually, among yourself, when you do this same movement, brush knee, twist step, you would be doing differently as well. So therefore, it's not so important in terms of do different style. But the important thing is you're doing that, whatever you do, doing well. So therefore, and that's what I do in the, I said the part with the different exercise involved with how to improve the quality of the movement. So finally, at the end of the class, I would like to do some sort of explanation a little bit at the different variation or different way to do the movement. So that's is my plan. So, and that's also the explanation your question before said, what's a small frame, small circle? And because, as I said at the top of the hour, because in the past people practice Tai Chi mainly for martial arts. So in order to be good at something, you have to train your body or refine your body. And that's to achieve a goal. And there are different training methods to achieve this goal. And that's the reason you end up do the form a little differently according to these objectives. And that's why you end up variation of the form to a little different, and you end up a different name of the style people do today. So, for example, in Yang style, we call the small frame or small circle form, and that's what it is today at the Wu style Tai Chi Chuan. Or when we used to have the, in order to, in the past, you have to move very quickly. You know, to be effective, you have to be move quickly. So quickly means you have to be able to change the directions suddenly, so that you can see. In order to do that without hurting yourself, you have to really fine-tune your body so that you can able to change the direction very quickly. So in the past, they kind of objected like this. It's called open and close, or open movement, closed movement. And today they call the Wu House style or the Sun style. But they, in the past, they don't have that name. The only name is the Chen style. It's different from the rest of them because to make a distinction. So in the 60s, I believe, late 60s, and then they used a term called Tai Chi Chuan, Chen style Tai Chi Chuan. But originally, in the 30s, they simply referred to Yang Cheng Fu Tai Chi Chuan and Chen Fa Kou Tai Chi Chuan. That's the first time the thing to separate the two. It's mainly in the 30s, 1928, 1927, when the established Republic of China, the capital city moved to Nanking. So because the capital city moved, so everybody used to be in Peking, they moved south. So include people who do Tai Chi the same way. So they moved south to Nanking, so people used to organize their organization in Peking empty. So they would like to have someone to teach Tai Chi there, and that's why they invite Chan Fa Kou from the Chen village to teach. But people who follow their young family member, how different the Tai Chi that he taught at the time compared to the young family member. So they distinguished two. So at that time, that's the only first time that you mentioned Chan Fa Kou style Tai Chi Chuan, Yang style Tai Chi Chuan. But it's different from today when we refer to Yang style, Chen style, Wu style. It's different. Okay? So in terms of the Tai Chi Chuan, so what's your definition of Tai Chi Chuan? Anyone? Literally, that's not what it means. When you look up any Tai Chi books, the common translation means the grand ultimate, right? That's the most common. But how does it relate to Tai Chi Chuan? Tai Chi Chuan is related to movement. The grand ultimate, it doesn't quite like the same way. Not quite. But because that's the very first and the most important thing, we said the name or something is very important. It will determine what it is. If you cannot get the name right, you cannot learn it properly. But one thing, before we start, one thing I have to make it clear. I didn't know this information until much later when I learned from my Qigong teachers. That is, what do we say when we Chinese language or cultures? We often said the Han Dynasty, right? The Han Yu, that's what we said. Because that's the time that best Chinese culture exists in China, in the Han Dynasty. And this one thing that I do not know, at that time, the Chinese, there are 500,000 Chinese characters in the Han Dynasty. So that's the best breeding time in Chinese cultures. Today, 5,000 words about people, that's how many people use. So therefore, many words that used at that time no longer exist. That kind of reminds me George Orwell's book, 1984, doesn't it? When something becomes simpler and narrow meaning. And one time I remember exactly when I read this from Inside Kung Fu. The man wrote, said, 潘曲重塑 放松. They are two separate characters originally. But somehow when they simplified this, pine tree and relaxation became one character. So this man, he interprets when we talk about relaxation into Tai Chi, and he said we should be like a pine tree, stand straight. It's not what it means, but that's how it ends up. So it's the same thing it goes with Tai Chi Chuan. Tai, today we said grand. But Qi, so when people say ultimate, so that's ultimate. But ultimate, how this relate to physical movement? Because in ancient time, the Chinese character, all know that they have many meaning. So in this case, Tai means this so big, there's nothing bigger than this big. That's why they use the word Tai. Qi, beside the grand ultimate, it's also like axis or a pole. For example, in a North Pole, South Pole, and they use that Qi too. So in ancient time, many times they use the word specifically related to meaning. So in this case, Tai Chi Chuan is more referring to movement because of pole or axis. When you said ultimate, doesn't connect it to movement. So you never heard people say like east and west pole because the axis is not that way. So the earth is not rotating in the directions, right? So that's why in Tai Chi the same way. So when we said Tai Chi Chuan, it relates to movement right away. But Chuan is simply mean now besides like fists or the hands, but also mean like every time in the past, like every time. Like one good example of how over the years everything changed is the word Shen, like deity or God. But originally, when you use the word, it means simply something out of ordinary. That's what we say Shen. But today, when we say Sun, we either refer to deity or God. So how everything changed. So same thing with Tai Chi Chuan. So when we said Tai Chi Chuan from the name, you can see that something most important thing relate to the axis or the body movement. So you know what that is? So that's why what happened. So that's why I said you know the name, and then pretty much you're able to do what you want to do. If you don't get the name right, it's difficult. So from this Tai Chi Chuan, so every time you move, you relate to the body. And when we move, we can move mainly because the joint in your body. And that's why you can bend, you can rotate, and you can do many different ways. So therefore, when we do Tai Chi Chuan movement, every movement you make, you have to involve with the joint in your body. If you don't do this, first, you're not doing Tai Chi Chuan. Right? So therefore, another meaning is Tai Chi Chuan could be like center of a center. So center of the center, that's the most important thing. So every time you move, it has to be about center of center. So center of axis is the joint in the body. But however, when you have the body line up like this, the most important part of the body is this area, right? So that's what happened today. Many Western many exercises, the core, they refer to your body. You have to do every movement you make involve the core. But traditionally, we already, Tai Chi Chuan has been around for a long time. We already take about things. So therefore, and that's what I see or witness most of the time when people do Tai Chi Chuan movement, they move, doesn't quite involve with the weight. So therefore, even you said you may do the brush knee at twist step, you not turn your weight when you do the movement, you are not really doing it. So even though you may go through the motion and everything. So this is why I said important before you begin to do the movement or learn a new movement or new form, whatever. And the quality of the movement that you make is very important. And this is the quality, is that every time you move, you have to involve with the weight. But actually, in reality, we actually involve our weight. It's just Tai Chi Chuan is more emphasis on this. Because when you walk, your pelvis already turn left and right. That's already moving. But it's in Tai Chi, we more highly emphasize on this than anything else. Okay? So you can imagine each joint of your body make a circular movement. Okay? So it's then the weight is in the middle. So it's almost like a spider web, doesn't it? So in order to do it properly, you can imagine you just grab the center of the spider web, you shake it, so it will be evenly to all area. So the same thing applied to the Tai Chi Chuan movement. So you're able to move, initiate from this area, so the rest of the whole body move at the same time. Right? So therefore, that's the way to go. So doesn't matter what routine that you do or what style that you practice. So every time you're able to initiate the movement from the weight, that's okay. So that's what happened in the past. You heard many people talk about the principle of Tai Chi Chuan practice, and the principle are very abstract. It's difficult to understand, and so from this, you can see when people mention about you have to do Tai Chi Chuan in a natural manner, so you know what it's referring to. So that is simply every movement you have to involve with the weight. You do that, and it's okay. And that's what in the past, or you read most of the book, they copy from each other, so not making a difference. And they always refer to you do practice Tai Chi Chuan, you have to do naturally. So you know what it means when they said naturally. It's the nature of the body. That's simply just like how you position the body upright. But you have to be initiated from this area. And that's why when you move, the weight moves and the legs and the arm go together. And that gives you same thing like our solar system, the same fashion. So the weight is almost the sun, and the rest of the part of the body is different planets, the same way. So from this, we can understand that there are two kinds of motion every time you make, right? So one is the weight turn. So therefore, when the weight turns to the left, so the hand will go to the left side, or the leg will go to the left side. That's it. When you turn to the right, so the hand and the leg and the rest of the body go to the right side. But there's another motion. The arm itself also turning too. It's like, the earth is orbiting toward the sun. That's one motion. But the earth itself also turning. And that's why we have 24 hours a day. So that's why when we do the Tai Chi Chuan movement, beside the arm follow the way, go to the left, but the arm itself also turning. Right? Or to the right side, so you go like this. But it's not just the hand or the leg, but the way also have turning. So two motion. And this is why it's so difficult to do. And that's why it takes a long time to be good at. But now you understand, so at least you may not be able to do it now, but at least you understand your goal, where you aim at. So that's why if you're able to do that, then everything comes okay. The health is a byproduct. You know all the different organs attached to our spine. So when your weight turn or your spine turn, so you make the organ inside your body moving left and right, up and down, so massage, right? So that's why it will be conditioning your organs. And that's why reason that it helps or it improves a person's health condition. It's because when your spine, your back move, and that create that motion there. And that's how improve your health. But the thing, like you can imagine today, how many people actually said that they really improved the health from practicing Tai Chi Chuan? I don't think that many people. Because most of them, they don't really do Tai Chi properly. So that's why I said at the top of the hour that just rely on the physical movement, that's not enough. Because you have to involve what's inside the count. So the inside means you have to do the movement, involve your organ moving, and that make the qi or the energy circulation happen or more efficient. It is this because the body that move, and then that's make this circulation possible. So it doesn't matter, what kind of style, how many different movements that you make, you're not able to do this. But most importantly, in terms of turning your spine or your waist or your back, is that, haven't mentioned it right at the beginning, we said the Tai Chi came from the Tao school. And Tao's highly treat life more important than like Buddhism, for example. They mainly more work on the mental part. They don't care much about the physical body. But in Tao school, they emphasize body as good as important as your mind. So that's why all the exercise they do more involved with, they said you need to build a strong body first before you get your mind become more intelligent. So what they believe in is like in back here, this area, we call it the Ming Man, or the life reservoir, the life or gay. It's just the area where supposed the body energy stores. So when you move your spine, you stimulate these areas. So make the qi in your body to start to circulate to the rest of the body. And that's why it make it work. So, but just simply to turn and up is still not quite there yet. Almost, but not quite. Because you have to, we often heard the expressions that, oh, you practice Tai Chi Chuan, you want to have the qi circulate the entire body. Right? You heard it all the time. But how and what does it mean, the entire body? Anyone? See, in the Tai Chi classic, this is a passage that said that the human body is almost like nice section pearl, right? Yeah, that's one statement by the Wu House style. So it simply means that in order to have the qi circulate the whole body, so you have to find a way that it's not simply the circulatory involved with the heart. More importantly, you have to go all the way to the extremity of your body. Right? Because the extremity of the body doesn't really relate so much on your heartbeat. Although many people said, oh, your heartbeat pump the blood circulate to the rest of the body. But it doesn't go to the capillary network. It doesn't. They're separate things. So that's when the classic refer to 9-section pearl. These are the sections that it was referring to. And actually, when it comes to the distance, probably the capillary network is involving more artery, small artery, than the one involved directly with the heart. So there's two. So therefore, when we do the movement, so in higher level Tai Chi Chuan practice, when we do the movement, first, well, I should say, sort of Tai Chi Chuan practice is more like divide more or less into like 3 different levels, different way. First, you simply learn the physical movement first. And then after you're efficient with the movement, you try to find a way to, the reason you do the movement, or my intentions, and then lead into we call it qi circulations. So you do the movement according to how to make the blood flow better in your body. So that part is what I just said, is how to have the blood circulate more into your extremity of the body, like the capillary network. So obviously, the same motion, difficult to work. It's like, you go like highway, the speed is not the same thing as in the courtyard when you're walking. So you do not expect, when you in the speed in the highway, the same thing at the courtyard. So the same thing you go, when you do the Tai Chi Chuan movement, you don't expect to be a lot of movement on the hand, and then you assume that will go to the capillary network. It's not. So that's one of the reasons you do have to do the movement slowly, and that's why it's different from other physical activity. It doesn't do that, and that's one of the reasons why people say, "Oh, do Tai Chi Chuan is able to improve health," but it's mainly because you do the movement slow, but you have to do a right way. So it's similarly. You rotate your body, so try to initiate the qi release from the main man and to circulate the rest of the body. But you need something in addition to this. You have to find a way to guide where it's go to. And after all, that's how originally Tai Chi Chuan began. From the we call the Douyin. So Dou means to manipulate your body to guide the qi to circulate. So that's why when originally Tai Chi Chuan came from this discipline like this, which means when you do the movement, you have to find a way to make it to circulate to the body. So these are the sort of internal aspect of Tai Chi Chuan practice. So in order to be good at something or successful at something, you have to focus on this more than just simply do the physical movement. So, any questions? So I probably time to get up, do something, right? Come on. There's a lot of space up front. So to me, and I'm sure you have some impression now, that the most important part of doing Tai Chi Chuan correctly is initiate all the movement from the waist. So I always begin to do the weight exercise first. So you simply bend your leg very little, hand about chest high, so keep it back up. So first you stand your feet parallel to your shoulders. Okay. So slightly you shift the weight to the side, so either left side or right side, doesn't matter. About 5% of the weight shift to the side, and then come close to the body, and then over to the right side like this. So they're shifting the weight and correspond to the movement on your hand like this. So when the hand goes from left to the right, make your hand close to the body. Okay. So when from the right to the left, then go away from the body. So in these circular motions. Okay, I want you to bend your leg, bend your knee a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little bit, not stand straight. Okay, like that. Okay, then you can do the opposite direction. Okay, then remember how to do the first one? So to do the next one is work with the arm. So stand straight. Okay, so you have hand palms facing up, go to the side. Okay, so you just reach out as much as you can without turning the body. When you move from the left to the right, slowly rotate your arms. Keep a finger together. So this. So keep the eye look straight. So don't move your body. So this is mainly just work on your arms. Okay, like this. And then from here you bend your elbow, palm facing up. Then you reach out to the sides again. Okay. Keep the fingers straight so that, when you move, the whole arm moves. From the left to the right, so slowly rotate your arm. Okay, so you can do on both sides. So it's just try to introduce you to the exercise you can practice. Okay, so the next one we're going to do, have the weight in the front. Okay, this will work on your coordination of the two hands. So when you make a stand, left foot aligned to your left shoulders, right foot, right shoulder. So keep your feet more wider. Yes. Okay. So this will work on the coordination. So first, you keep a circular motion like this on the one hand. Okay. And then you put another on top, like this. So both hands sort of join the same circle. So it does in this. The important thing is work on the hand coordination. So it doesn't really matter you have the weight on the front leg or the weight on the back leg or the right hand on top or the right hand on the bottom. It doesn't make any difference. So or either directions is okay. But wider here. So this is the same thing. You can have the weight on the right leg or the left leg. Either way is okay. Okay, let's do the next one. So mainly work on your spine. So you stand straight. Okay, keep the head up. So bring your hand up, level to your face. So keep your back straight like this. So slowly you turn your body from side to side, like this. So the leg straight. Don't bend your leg. Just turn as much as you can. Okay, and then you come back to the middle. And you go to the other side. And you go to the left again. So the hand just simply to help you to keep your posture up. So it's good just to have the hand closer to your face, so not far away. Close. So keep your back straight mainly. So remember the leg should be straight. So that's only this way, so you can really turn your upper body. Okay, so any question of this for exercise? So if you're able to do this more, then the body after will be more limber, will be do the movement much easier and more, the quality will show. Okay? Anything else? So this is the Yang Lu Sim. This is the man who started the Yang style Tai Chi Chuan. So the Tai Chi that he practiced at his time is equivalent today. We call that, in Yang style, we call the small circle form or small frame form or Wu style, commonly referred to as the Wu style. But it's more like the Wu style in Peking than the Wu style in the South. Because in the North or in Peking, they still pretty much stick to the way he was taught. But in the South, they already enlarging the movement. So although the position is very similar, but the movement already much bigger already. Yeah. So it's like this. So what it emphasizes, it's more on the waist, less on the joints, or mainly just the body. So because the movement is confined more to the trunk, so that the movement, it looks smaller. So that people refer to as a small circle form or small frame form. And this naming is only happened in 1963. You know, when this man called Gu Liu Xing, when he published the book, The Art of Tai Chi Chuan in 1963, and he the first time, used this name called the different fame. That's why he burned the fame of Tai Chi Chuan. Okay. So the sequence, although all of them are the same, it's just the way you execute the movement a little bit different. So that. Okay, so it's more the trunk rather than the arm. So that's what we call it at the small circle form. Yeah.
Can you just show us what's this movement, the application? What does that mean? I'm sure they want to know. So, application-wise, martial art-wise, take a look at that.
The application is the same way.
What does that mean?
Well, one easy thing is like this. It's like to the net. When you reach out like this kind of motion is to the net. And this come back, the roll back one. Right. But the thing is, because it confines, so doesn't much closer. So you're very close to the person. It's not like karate, you know, you keep at a distance. This is very close. So that's why you always, when you lift the hand up, so people not expecting, when you're very close, when you suddenly you lift your toes up back, so it creates a distance. And a lot of people did not expect this. So that's when someone charging you forward, you suddenly come back, also lift your toes up, create a great distance. And that's people off balance quite often. So in many times, and people use also a way to maintain your own balance by, although the toes are off, but the leg should be straight. So that's kind of keep the balance when it close to the persons. Does it make sense? Okay. So anyway, so this is originally, that's how it's done when the first man, young Lu Sim. So when it, from him, then to his two sons, and this is number two son, it's number three. The number two son is, they said he's a very different personality-wise and very aggressive, and he make his name as a fighter. And some people said that he may be missing, they assume that he was killed during the Boxer Rebellion, but not really sure. Someone says, oh, we saw him the last time was in the city, carrying the white horse, then never seen him again, in around 1890 something. And this is the number three sons. They are personality-wise very different. And this one supported very gentleman, and he taught many people. And mainly in the Qing dynasty, in the royal family. So he, at this time, Tai Chi still practiced at the martial arts. So this man, he's realized that at the martial art, we punch, we kick, more involved with the body more. So the one I just showed before, it doesn't make the arm as strong as expected, or to develop that, it's very difficult to do. So he said, he figured that, need to reform or make some change from the father. So the routine that he does is called the middle. And this, which means have a lot more variation to the movement he makes. So for example, we just go like this. But he said, go up. Second time. The third time. So he create more movement, and he said, work on the lower body. So he said, we need to do this more so that it's also easier for a student to learn at the martial art rather than just like today at health exercise. So that's why he create much more difficult, but it needs to condition the lower body. So that's his routine. Okay, so but they all call Tai Chi Chuan. So after him, so the third generation, this one, this is the Yang Lu Sim number 3 son. Okay, this is he's the older son, and this is number 2. And this is the student, and this is number 3. And many people knew him at Yang Lu Sim today, and they said today people talk about Yang Tai Chi. Most of them are his students and student. So in the third generation, so again, the oldest son do the routine because he learned a lot from his uncle. So therefore, he does the movement called the small circle form, and much more aggressive than this one. It's around 1918, 1917, around that time, that because of him, that Tai Chi Chuan is much more popular. Yeah. This one is Yang Sheng Fu. Yeah. Mainly because he have about 8, 9, 10 students pass on. It's pretty skillful. But more importantly, because the way he teach. As I said before, when we said Tai Chi Chuan, we said you do naturally. So to most people, it's difficult to understand what it means, like naturally. So that's why when he came along, he introduced 10 point. So anyone follow the 10 point, keep your head up, bend your joint, elbow, point, relax the shoulder, inside and outside go together. Every movement you make, they have non-movement, like left and right, top and bottom coordinations. So when he came along, he proposed this 10 points. So any student would be much easier to grasp how to make the movements. Because now, physically, there are some things that in order to do Tai Chi Chuan correctly, as long as you follow this 10 point, you got it. And that's why in the 1917, 1916, 1918, around that time, Tai Chi is much more popular because of him, and he had this to propose. Yeah.
Can you demonstrate the style of teaching?
Yeah. So he's different from the father, mainly like the father is like its movement, he had many times. So he came along, he said, we don't need to do repeat movement. So he just keep the bigger movement. Like each time you repeat 2-3 times, so you just keep one. So that's why people refer to his style at the last frame or last circle, because he said when you make the movement bigger, people easy to see, but most importantly, it helps you sort of open up or stretch your joint, so that make it so. So this is see, so the movement much bigger, so because you try to stretch the body more, open up. So that's called the last circle form. So that's why this is very popular among many different people today. But then after him is so the fourth generation is this man. He's Yang Chengfu's son, and also my father teaches. He was 27 years old when his father died. So many people today actually nobody knows in the West about him, because he's very private person, doesn't go out and in company with others. And he basically, since 1949, he lived in Hong Kong. It basically, you've never been in Hong Kong, so you don't know. So the apartment in Hong Kong very small. So basically, he teaches in his living room. So you generally like 15 minutes with each student. So he had limited space. So that's what happened. You have limited space. He only teaches one person at a time. Each one he spent 15 minutes each. So whenever time there's many people, so he raised the fee. So somebody drop off, and that's how many people complain that he charged a lot of money. But that's how he spent his rest of his life in Hong Kong. He doesn't go out because I studied from him in 1984. So I have some personal experience and with him. So he came along. So he said, after you do it for a while, his father's form like this, then he felt that at the martial art perspective, it's kind of loose. It's not so good to in your fighting. So he make this the movement a little bit closer. So he called it a medium. So, and this is actually the routine that many people are teaching in China today, although they claim to be from the father. Like this. Okay, it's this one. I think many people, when they talk about Yang Tai Chi Chuan, this is the one they do, because Yang Tai Chi Chuan, he's 14 years old. He began assist his father. 16, he's on his own teaching others. And in mainland China, many people claim to be learning from the father, but actually learning from him. And that's what happened many times. When they said they do the Yang Cheng Fu form, it's look more like this. Yeah.
We have a few moments. We would like to have a second class. What do you think will be ready for a second class? What will you be covering, teaching? And also, can you just demonstrate a little bit, maybe with Tony, pick up some simple movement about the martial arts application and on the defense level? So I'm sure they're all anxious to know what's that movement for. Is it protecting yourself or defending yourself, something like that?
Well, first of all, so you have some idea what when it comes to Tai Chi Chuan movement, which is about. So.
When the students learn more, and they want to know what's that movement for, like holding the guitar, learning the root, or single whip.
But what I said.
Demonstrate a little bit, maybe with Tony.
No, I'm talking the other part with the what to do next. It's I was saying now you have some idea what is involved. So any particular kind of subject that interests.
Could you demonstrate 24
The 24 movement. There's a couple places I do not like, so I don't do that for 24. But I have a routine that close to. Yeah.
He does a full turn, 180.
Huh?
The classic long,
No.
original, traditional.
right? It's mainly in the simplify or 24 technique. It's supposed to introduce at the beginning class, but because I don't like the sneak quiz down for the beginner, they cannot do it. So that's what, based on that, I removed those two particular ones. Probably because you mentioned about the 24 move, it was mainly because this man, that's Cui Li Si in Peking. He's a Yang Chengfu student. And at the time, Li Deyin is the person who in charge of to create this simplified or 24 technique. So Li is also his father, also a Yang Chengfu student. So this man recommend Li that today, Yang Chengfu's position is the most popular, the one people do when it comes to Tai Chi Chuan. And so that Li took his comment, and that's based on the Yang Chengfu position to create this 24 or simplified Tai Chi. The term Qigong actually, it began in 1958, I think, in Hongshan, in a rehab hospital. But as I said before, Douyin, that's to consider a Qigong today. So originally, when this man, Liu Guizhen, is a doctor, the man first introduced the term Qigong, and he introduced to the patient there, government official, to the breathing exercise he learned from his uncle. So originally, when people said Qigong, that's what it simply breathing exercise. But then people question about, first of all, he saw the value of the patient in this rehab hospital. So he actually wrote to the world, to the Chinese health department, recommend that the government should promote this type of exercise for improve people's health and how much money can be saved from it. Then, of course, they took the recommendation, but the thing is, it's pretty too simple. Breathing exercise, everyone can do. So later he expanded the notion of breathing exercise. So today include anything exercise your physical body, your breathing, your mind. So anything can do these three things is Qigong.
Meditation,
yeah,
breathing.
Yeah, and so but traditionally it's much more complex than this. So throughout history, so because of different objectives, so we have different names for the term Qigong. So in the past, for example, people actually try to swallow when the qi into the mouth, through the mouth. So they call eating qi. So at one time like that. So they emphasize it's various. But overall, Qigong, you have to be able to say that when you practice something, you get it from outside your body. That traditionally, when we said something equivalent to the Qigong practice, you have to do something that able really have benefits, but it able to get the qi from outside the body into yourself. So therefore, in the past, when we practice Qigong, you have to find a place very quiet so that no distraction happen. So many times, what happens is you in the meditative could be dynamic, like physical movement, or no movement meditation. But the key is the same. When you in a meditative state, for example, you create the image in your head what you want to get. So in your mind, you try to guide. First was thinking about to get the energy from this object into your body. So go through a specific part of your body, go through the inside the body, certain area. So it's a lot more complex. So until in the 80s, the late 80s, when China is much more open. So there's many different forms of Qigong exist. So there are many new methods of Qigong. So, but they are not so much focused on the mind specific, because at the beginning, they still do that. You have to imagine you might have a guide, the Qi enter your body, go through different parts of your body. But because we are living in a city, and not everybody able to have this kind of quietness to do that. So many people end up making a mistake and get hurt and maybe get sick. So that's why in the late 80s, they have many different new styles. Qigong doesn't emphasize on focus on where to guide the Qi anymore. And so today, like for example, Falun Gong, one of them is like that. It's just like in the 1992 or 91, it began to teach to the public. It wasn't exist before. But these Qigong they don't focus so much anymore on how the Qi enter the body. So a teacher would many times have hundreds and thousands of people in a big audience. So Vincent Chu he came to MIT several years ago. So in auditorium, at least 500 people in there. So he was, after he lectures maybe first half an hour, so he had people sit there. Imagine he said a lotus flower in your belly, dantian, and imagine the color of this flower change, how it's right, breathing the color circulate to the rest of the body. So so you mentioned the subject. The Qigong that I do is they have a book there you can interested can purchase, and also people interested can have a class on this. It's called Pangu Qigong. Pangu is you know the name, right?
Pangu.
Yes.
I don't know how to translate.
Oh, that's literally just Pan means space, Gu means antiquity or time. So literally that means Pangu means the time and space. Also knew in Chinese history, it's a legend. Pangu is the person or being who started the universe. So there's very little information on this subject. But everybody, even Mao Zedong, when he talk about ancient Chinese history, he used the expression Pangu. It's referring to so long ago in antiquity.
So this place, Harvard, will be a great place for Qigong practice because it's a fresh air, nice air, no pollution, and quiet, right? Maybe next time we can have a class called Pangu Qigong.
But the important thing is, so in eternal this Qigong, one important thing is you absorb the energy from outside the body. So but mainly because you absorb energy from inside the body, enhance your immune system, and that's why it's fighting disease. But the one interesting is that just yesterday, I think, or the day before, on Channel 5, I don't know if you see this news about Arctic Chronicle. It talked about in Mass General, they began this new therapy, immune therapy, that is to you extract the tumor cell from the tumor, then you modify and put it back into your body, let your immune system assume that bacteria to attack. You heard it? So this is exactly like this Pangu Qigong, that's what it does. But except we already do it like back in the 20 years, more than 20 years actually now. It's the same philosophy behind. As originally, people wondered, how can it be possible? But that's what it does. It's try to enhance your immune system. Because when people come to sickness or come to healing the disease, it's not so much the medication that you take. It's your immune system alone that fighting the disease. It's just when you get sick because your immune system low or weak, and then whatever bacteria enter the body, then cause it. And you know that from today, from people have the immune deficient disease like HIV or rheumatoid arthritis, that's a good example. Because this disease destroy your immune system, and that's what causes you to get sick. So this is what this Qigong's approach.
Yeah, so Qigong involves your mind and your visualization and your meditation, your concentration and breathing to fight, to kill that tumor cell. Use your mind, it's all mind work. Mostly breathing, concentration, visualization. You know, you can do it. Believe me, you can do it. But it takes practice. Not just all the time, oh, I want to do it earlier. No, it takes practice. Meditation and breathing and Qigong exercise.
So we can talk a lot more about this subject. 有個人佢推手俾佢睇下喎。So you can. So briefly, you can tell that that's what we do when come to pushing hand exercise. Okay, it is. See, that's what happens when you do the position. You know, you get all the way up to the fingertip. So they regular basis, then you could have enough strain on your arms. If you're just working on here, then nothing on this part, then it weak. Okay. So that's why everyone you do the movement, you know, like this. So actually, relaxation or not is something only you can tell, not someone from outside. So maybe you may see that, wow, that looks very firm, there's a lot of strength, but actually it's not. But that's the thing, is that this it's not how other person tell whether you are relaxed or not. It's only you can able to tell yourself. Good.